Now in the studio, in the Africa Day theme, to reflect on the significance of this day, I'm joined by Professor Pitika Ntuli. Happy Africa Day to you, sir. And thank you very much for coming out this morning. I know you get very busy in your studio there, which one day will come and visit. For you, Africa Day, what does it signify?
Africa Day, for me, is for us to remember who we really are, how we got ourselves lost and captured, and how we have to sit down and find ways of getting ourselves out of the morass that we are sinking in.
Yes. Now, Africa, I mean, this day comes from the foundation of the Continental Organization, the OAU, way back in 1963, today known as the African Union. Do you think there's a continent, in terms of what it set out to do, we've made strides? I mean, one was political freedom, and of course today we're beset with economic freedom challenges.
I mean, in a sense, we have made strides, because remember that in the beginning we had all coup d'etats in each and every country. At least we have kind of democratized. The majority of African countries have got normal this. But other than that, we haven't, because the background to Africa Day, what underpinned it was what Kwame Nkrumah was calling for, the formation of an African Union, a single African government with an African high command, with an African economy, an African currency, and two African languages that everybody could speak. We have not actually got that way. We mooted the idea of an African Union, and the Europeans listened to us. They came with the European Union, and they've succeeded. The answer is that we are still struggling.
Okay, we've set out here in South Africa to be part of this continent politically during the Thabo Mbeki era, when he was president of the country, through the African Renaissance. And South Africa has tried to be seen to really do a lot of positive stuff on the continent. How can we really improve in terms of contributing as a country to Africa's growth economically and Africa's stability where there's wars, and the growth and the celebration of Africa's diverse culture?
I think that would actually be very difficult, if at all we do not actually change the very paradigms that really guide us. If we do not change our own parliamentary systems, if we do not change our education, if we do not actually come with what Madiba was calling for, the RDP of the soul, that we have got to change ourselves thoroughly if we are to move forward.
Yeah, some people say like that we South Africans particularly, we tend to look at ourselves as different from the rest of the Africans, the continents, and sometimes some of these things manifest themselves through xenophobic attacks and stuff like that. What would you say to that kind of mindset or thinking wherever it exists?
Yeah, I mean, what has happened is that I think out of everybody in Africa, we as South Africans were the most highly colonized, than anybody else, to an extent that we do not know what is happening beyond the Zambezi. A person crosses from the Zambezi, we say you are an African, tacitly accepting that we ourselves are not actually African. You go to Tanzania, you go to Nigeria, you ask a child of about 8, who is the president of South Africa or Mozambique or deputy, their civic service, their life orientation teaches them about Africa, whereas ours has got nothing to do with Africa or anything else.
So that whole call for the decolonization of education in South Africa, you would support?
That call for it is very essential, because without it, we are still going to be doing what Chinwezo says, left feet twisting themselves, perfect left feet twisting themselves to look like a right foot. We still want to look, very European, very, Western, and ashamed of who we are.
Thank you.